Shreya. Shreya, mic mute हो रखा है.
Hi.
Guys, let me again repeat the instruction regarding how we are going to proceed. In the initial mate, I will ask for some general questions. Thereafter, I will open the floor to all of you so that you can unmute your mic and ask to her any question. And in between, if you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment section, which we will take in the end of the session. So, Shreya, first of all, again, congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Anmol.
Okay. So, Shreya, how did you define your UPSC journey? Like, what are the mistakes and takeaways?
Some major mistakes is that like I left my optional preparation for later on, and that made it little difficult to prepare between prelims and mains. That is something that I'd recommend no one else to do. Prepare your optional before you start preparing your GS at least, or at least side by side. Don't leave it for the last. And another mistake is that in the first attempt, I was not taking things very seriously. I thought I'll get through easily because we've all seen videos of some toppers who say they studied for 7-8 months and got through, but that is not the truth for most of us. We need to take it seriously and we need to put in a lot of effort in order to qualify this exam.
Okay. So, according to you, what are the mistakes? These are the mistakes you are suggesting.
Yeah, major two mistakes, yes.
Okay. So, according to you, like prelims, what are the particular timeline you want to suggest for the beginners for 2023 aspirant?
So I did not study with a plan or like a month-wise target and things like that, because I've always felt that if I set out an exact plan that I have to do it at this particular time, I feel very bound by it, and that reduces my motivation levels. So instead, my approach has been to set out general targets and then proceed accordingly, do whatever I like in the moment, complete it, and then move to the next thing. Regarding prelims, I did not initially separate the preparation of prelims and mains. I prepared for both of them together for a while, and only later on, like when around 60-70 days were remaining for the prelims, I completely left the mains preparation and focused on the prelims preparation.
Okay. So, what would you suggest regarding the uncertainty of this exam? Like, is it necessary to have any plan B?
It depends on you. Like the exam is certainly very uncertain, and I have recently met a lot of people who were not able to make it in the previous attempts despite all their efforts. So, having a plan B would certainly help. But then there's another consideration to take, that if you have a plan B, then it's generally other competitive examinations, either for things like RBI or for the state PSCs. So what happens in those cases is that your focus is divided between this preparation and that, and what that leads to is that we get selected in neither of the things. Like after my first attempt, I was very worried whether I'll get through or not, and I applied for the RBI Grade B exam. I went until the interview round in that, but I was not able to get selected because I did not have enough time to prepare. So that is also a consideration. Like both these sides must be taken care of while choosing a plan B.
So, your optional is economics, right?
Yes.
Any comprehensive strategy you want to suggest? Like, many people are asking in the comment section regarding your optional strategy.
So before I tell my strategy, one thing that has to be kept in mind is that I have completed my graduation and masters in economics. So I did have a grasp over the fundamentals of the subject. And once that is said, how I proceeded with it was to get the standard books that are recommended for economics optional preparation, like H.L. Ahuja for microeconomics, Troyan for macroeconomics, Salvatore for international economics, and so on. I got the basic books. I'm first of all telling the strategy for paper one. So the basic books I got, and then I read them once, first just reading, and then in the second round I made notes, my own notes, because I have read in the blogs of other toppers that just using other person notes could help you with the understanding of the concept, but when it comes to performing in the exam, we are unable to recall the exact diagrams, etc. So it is recommended to make your own notes, especially in paper one. That is something I did, and once I was one excuse me, can mute your mic. And when I was done with making notes for it, I started attempting the PYQs. So I did not wait for the entire thing to be over, but like I'm done with the microeconomics notes making. So while I'm reading macro, I had also solved one or two microeconomics questions. So this I had put great emphasis on solving the PYQs. I did not join any coaching or test series for economics optional. So I think this is a strategy that can work for everyone. And let's coming to paper two. In paper two, my strategy was to first go through the book Uma Kapila and make notes out of it. Mainly, I was focusing on the pointers and the sequence of events that happened. So Uma Kapila provides a good framework for that. And once I was done with that for the post independence thing, for the pre-independence syllabus, Tirthankar Roy's book is very good. So I read both of them, made notes out of it. And once I had done my notes out of these two basic books, I referred to the notes of two or three toppers, Kumar Anurag sir, Abhijit Sinha sir, and selectively added from their notes into mine, like the papers or the studies they are used, the data pointers that they have inserted in their notes, the updated version of them, so and so forth. So this was my strategy again for preparing the notes. And once I had done preparing the notes, I started attempting the PYQs again of the paper two as well. I think PYQs are very important when it comes to economics options.
Ma'am, what is the other book other than Uma Kapila?
Tirthankar Roy's Economic History of India.
Okay, thanks.
And ma'am, I was asking, like, when you appeared for, you are saying you are doing previous year question for paper one, right? So you did not take
Yes.
any coaching as for test series. So how are you evaluating that my answers are good, or means I have reached certain level?
So initially, I was focused. See, I had a background in economics, so I can know generally in the portions that overlap between my graduation and this, I can know whether my answer is accurate or not. So that is one thing. Regarding the quality of answers, initially we had a peer group. So it did not last long, but in our peer group, we used to share our answers, and like while reading the others' answers, I got an idea of what seems good and what does not. And apart from that, some answers like model answers by previous year toppers like Kumar Anurag sir and Tejasvi Rana ma'am were available online. So I used them to have an idea of what they were doing in their papers and try to replicate that. A lack of evaluation certainly does pose challenges because I was not sure at all times whether what I was doing was right or wrong, but I used some of the basic pointers that others have given. For example, if you read Tejasvi Rana ma'am's blog, she has recommended that you need to draw a lot of graphs, you need to mention the economists. And again, both Abhijit Sinha sir and Tejasvi Rana ma'am have said that using a pencil for making the graphs help them both increase their marks significantly in mains, especially economics optional paper. So small things like that I used to pick up from their blogs and then try to apply them in practice.
So guys, one thing
Ma'am,
I want
please
to
guide in details for GS papers.
अरे in between अगर कोई disruption होता है मीटिंग में तो you can join through the same link.
हेलो मैम।
Okay.
मैम अभी आपने एक टॉपर्स के बारे में बताया था, अभिजीत सिन्हा, तेजस्वी राणा और एक और टॉपर थे, उनकी आपने कॉपीज से चीजें निकालने की कोशिश करी थी, राइट? मतलब तो मैम वो दूसरे टॉपर कौन थे? अभिजीत राणा सर के पहले जो आपने, सॉरी, अभिजीत सिन्हा सर के पहले आपने बोला था
कुमार अनुराग सर।
कुमार अनुराग सर। मैम और कितने
मैम-
टॉपर्स की हम कॉपीज चेक करके आइडियाज ले सकते हैं, आप सजेस्ट करेंगे?
The problem is इकोनॉमिक्स ऑप्शनल के ज्यादा टॉपर्स की कॉपीज अवेलेबल नहीं है ऑनलाइन, तो दैट डिड पोज अ चैलेंज। मैंने अपने आंसर्स अपने चैनल पे शेयर कर दिए हैं, इफ यू वांट यू कैन गो थ्रू दैट, देयर इज ऑलवेज स्कोप फॉर इम्प्रूवमेंट, तो दैट कैन बी यूज्ड। एंड सो फार मुझे और टॉपर्स मिले नहीं है, जैसे सार्थक अग्रवाल सर के इकोनॉमिक्स ऑप्शनल पेपर्स मुझे मिल नहीं पाए थे। इफ यू कैन फाइंड देम यू कैन आल्सो गो थ्रू देम, बिकॉज he scored decent. He did not score very good marks, but he got decent marks in economics optional, and he has an economics background.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you
Ma'am,
so much.
please guide for GS papers in detail.
Ma'am, how to cover economics optional with college?
One by one, एक एक करके पूछो।
Ma'am, please guide for GS paper in details.
Ma'am, from which
GS
source we
papers
can
पे-
find solution of
Okay,
Abhi
let's do
bhai
one
answer
thing.
to the-
Let's just pause a little and let's do one thing. First, address queries regarding economics option, and then we'll move to GS, because like, going to and fro won't help anyone. So, economics optional questions, anyone? Unmute your
Yeah,
mic and ask one
economics
by one.
optional में
Ma'am,
what is the
जिसका-
highest one you can achieve and how to achieve those? मतलब कितने क्वेश्चन सही होने चाहिए if you want to achieve a really high score in economics, and what maximum can one achieve in economics? जैसे मैथ्स में तो बहुत ज्यादा लोग अचीव कर लेते हैं, पर इकोनॉमिक्स में कितना मैक्स है?
See, there's no like UPSC or their evaluators do not define ki this is the max beyond which we are not going to give marks. It depends on how much you impress the evaluator. So as far as I know, Tejasvi Rana ma'am scored one of the highest marks so far, 315 or 25. So going beyond that is generally difficult, because economics option has a lot of things which everyone misses. So that is this year the highest was 293. So it is possible to go into 290, 300 in economics optional as well. But again, it will depend on what you do in your answer copies. People also score very less marks in economics optional. So there's no upper limit. How many questions to attempt or get right? See, you have to attempt all the questions. This is a thumb rule, general thumb rule for all mains related papers, be it GS, be it essay, obviously, and optional. You have to attempt all the questions that are required. For like in optional, we have choices, but like you have to still attempt all the questions. Do not miss, like attempt 250 out of 250 marks worth of questions. How many you get right? I think that is something you can't think beforehand, that I'll only attempt 200 questions right, and the rest 50 marks I'll just do whatever. You have to try writing all the 250 marks worth of questions correctly as per your knowledge, and beyond that it's up to the evaluator how much you score. So try to do as much as possible, and prepare well for all the topics, because in the recent years we are seeing a lot of unexpected questions coming. Next question regarding optional.
is there need for like background in economics to take it?
No, there's no need for background in economics, but economics is a subject that requires a lot of patience and dedicated effort. So if you have that, you can surely choose, because Abhijit Sinha sir that I was referring to, he is an electrical engineer by training, but he chose economics optional because he had interest in it and had done a few courses in his college. So and he got AIR 12, AIR 19. So it's not necessary to have a background in economics option. You can still choose it as an option even if you don't.
मैम अगर एग्जाम में लॉरेंस डोमिनेंस एंड वो बुचानन्स क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ theories, arrows theory, तो how to attempt these questions? जैसे लॉरेंस डोमिनेंस was last year a compulsory question.
Yes, it was. Luckily for me, my research internship dealt with Lorentz dominance, so I did not have difficulty attempting that question. In the other questions, for example, if I had to attempt the Buchanan's critique on arrow, if it was a compulsory question, what I would have done is, just because I do not know the exact critique that the person has given, so in that case, I would mention the general critique of arrow that I know. And if I knew some theories by Buchanan, which I do not know, yet if I knew some of the theories or approaches of Buchanan, I would have tried to use those to like create some like relate the drawbacks of arrow with his theory, so that it might seem that it is what's given by the person. But again, you cannot fool the evaluator. If you do not know, just write whatever you know related to the topic. Don't leave the question blank.
And ma'am, what is the material that we refer for criticism of Arrow's theory? Because H.L. Ahuja is very complex explanation of criticism of Arrow. So what is the right source material to
H.L.
refer?
Ahuja does not address Arrow's theory and all very well. That was my approach, and not a lot of questions on critique of Arrow is asked. So if you are finding it very difficult, you can skip it. Like it's you have to strategically prepare. If one topic worth maybe 10 marks question is taking you too long to prepare, you can skip that and do it later on when you have time, because strategically preparing is very important for them.
And ma'am, material for Lorentz dominance?
I think you will need to Google it and just read up a few basic definitions and applications of it on any good economics websites.
Ma'am, how did you access Tejasvi Rana ma'am notes, as they are not accessible? They need permission to access.
When Tejasvi Rana ma'am had qualified initially, she had shared those notes publicly, and I had saved it there at that time. But like recently while preparing, I was not using her notes. I was using just her strategy from the blog available on, I think it was on Insight's website. So I was mainly using her strategy and not her notes. When it comes to notes, Abhijit Sinha sir's notes and Kumar Anurag sir's notes were the best. And Gaurav Agarwal sir's notes provide like insights on some of the topics that no one else touches. So these are the things you can look at.
How should we prepare current affairs for the economics optional? Like, how does
what you need to do is, like, economics option does not ask direct questions on the current affairs thing. What you need to do is prepare data pointers on all the topics. It is okay if it is like a year or two backdated, because you just have to know the general trend. When it comes to specific current affairs preparation, I use the Mains 365 and PT 365 magazine by Vision IS. The economics version is very bulky, so I only covered it from selected areas. But if you can manage the time, you can cover the entire document, and it is very beneficial. I would have liked to prepare from the entire document, but I was unable to manage time for that.
And for say economic survey or the budget, are summaries sufficient, or should we like go through the original documents in their entirety?
When it comes to mains exam, summaries are sufficient. You mainly need to use the keywords that are given there and the data sets. So they are available in the summary pretty well. Going through the entire document is time taking. Budget, if you want, you can cover in detail, because the budget document is relatively shorter. But the economic survey is bulky. So I would advise you to leave that for later. Try to prepare that for the interview. But for mains, it is sufficient to just go through the data compilations and the keywords that have been used. Keywords are very important.
Ma'am, we have to make notes for the budget.
I collected the data points from there and did not make separate notes, but added in my general notes whatever data pointers that were in the budget. So that is something you can do. I have felt that if you make separate notes for the data sets and everything, then it becomes difficult to revise. While if you insert it with your original notes, specific section-wise data, when you're revising the rest of the theory, at the same time you're able to revise the data, and that helps with the recollection during the exam.
Ma'am, how do you incorporate GS3 economy portion with the optional? How do you prepare for that simultaneously? Because
that was another of my like mistakes that I forgot to mention earlier. So I had left GS3 preparation until like to do with my economics paper 2 preparation, and what happened is that I was able to only selectively prepare for GS3 because of that, because again, time management issues. So what I did was go through the Vision Value Added magazine for the topics that are overlapping in both. The Vision Value Added magazines are really good, and the data and the definitions that are given there can also be used in economics optional to an extent, not completely. You still have to make other notes for your optional, but they are really good. They are more than enough for GST and for just general sort of marks, general sort of preparation. They are enough even for optional, but for like improving your marks, you need to do a little bit more research on your end. So, Vision Value Added Magazine is what I used for coordinating these two GS3 and Economics Paper 2.
While giving the exam, which kind of topics did you prefer for fetching the maximum marks?
Which paper?
Paper 1. Like in
Paper one,
micro international development.
Paper 1, I tried to prepare everything under in the
While
syllabus.
giving the exam, while choosing the topics, which did
So
you
while
prefer?
choosing the topics, it depends on the questions that are being asked. So if for a question I'm certain that I know the answer to it, then I'll attempt it. And then again there are choice based questions 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 7, 8. So in those questions, if in a certain question I know 2 with certainty and 1 half versus in another question I know only 1 with certainty and 2 like sort of half. So I'll obviously choose the former rather than the later. So it depended not just on the exact question that was there, but the set of questions that were there. So it will depend on what you can recollect on the exam day. It does not have a specific strategy set out that I'll only attempt questions from this area. When it comes to paper 2, in that I preferred static based questions because for those I was very certain about my answers, like the about the 1991 reforms or the pre-independence economic history of India. So these are the things where things are known with certainty. So attempting those does have surety of marks. So I preferred those rather than the very contemporary questions.
How to prepare for grade B along with the optional economics?
So again, grade B is the way I approach grade B is something I would not recommend others to do because that was sort of a last ditch effort for me. I only prepared like the grade B DEPR. I do not get through prelims, the first phase. For the grade B general exam, I did get to the interview stage, and in that I prepared for the prelims for around 10 days, dedicated effort. And then for the phase 2 of grade B, I prepared whatever gap is there between the first and second phase. And for the interview, again, I was not able to prepare very well because prelims was approaching, and I prioritized UPSC prelims rather than grade B. So this is the approach that I use.
So like,
what
will
I
you
would recommend.
suggest?
Yeah.
Ma'am, so is there any particular way that you will suggest, like if someone, like there is almost about 9 months to prelims now for 23. So is there a way, like, how should we balance out these two preparations? How should we
grade B and prelims or mains and prelims?
Towards these two exams, grade B and
See, grade B is something I do not have an expertise on. I just sat once and I did not prepare very well. So that is something you'll have to talk to people who have appeared and gotten through grade B exam. For prelims specifically, if you're asking me, I would suggest you to focus on mains alongside prelims. Because if you just focus on prelims and then get through the prelims, you are unable to do full justice to the mains exam. So prepare mains alongside the prelims. Don't ignore it for the moment.
Ma'am, for the
paper 2, it is necessary to go through the Uma Kapila, ma'am, because it's a very bulky.
Uma Kapila, there are 2 books. One I have heard is very bulky. What I have is the smaller, shortened version, Indian Economy, Performance and Policies. So that book is not that bulky, around 800 pages or so. So that is doable.
Ma'am, please switch to GS subject.
Ma'am, for paper 2, once again, I want to ask, like, how much data is enough while writing answers, or how much is less? Means, how do we judicially decide, like, this much is enough data in naming the economics and all? So how do we decide?
There is no set formula for that. like use enough data to data should not be used as a standalone thing, but rather to substantiate your answer. So focus on the focus on the judicious use of data. Don't just throw data everywhere. Specific data that supports your argument and have data on both sides of the argument in favor as well as against, and use both of them in a balance. Don't create a biased view, and like provide analysis of what the data means. In GS, it is okay to just mention the data, but in optional, you have to have an understanding of what the data means. So that limits our usage of data to a great extent, because even we do not understand everything about what a certain data pointer says. So just have a very small set of data and use that repeatedly through the paper. That is fine. It does not cost you any marks.
And what is the strategy
Ma'am,
for
for the paper one, I have seen your answers, previous year answer in the on the Telegram. Ma'am, that looks more mathematical looks, and someone suggested the answer should be not in mathematical looks. What would be the better answer?
I don't think you have gone through the entire thing. Only a couple of answers are mathematical in approach, because for that I did not have an idea of what graphical approach would be suitable. But mostly I have answered through a graphical approach, and that is highly recommended in the exam.
Johanny is asking
Ma'am,
a question.
ethics strategy?
So let's move on to the GS.
Ma'am, how to see solution of previous year question, because we don't find a source to check our mains previous year question.
For GS?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can join any evaluation platform, answer the PYQ, and get them evaluated. So I personally joined Convert IAS. You can look at them. Their evaluation, I found their evaluation very good for GS and SA last year. There are also other platforms available, so you can choose any of those. And the best thing about these platforms is that you can post unlimited number of answers each day. So it just depends on how much you want to work, and they're cost effective that way. So you can get your PYQ answers evaluated from them. Do not try to go for model answers, because model answers are just that, model answers. They are not replicable in the exam. Write your own answers and get them evaluated, so you will have an idea of how much you will score, or what are the positives and negatives of your answer that you will be able to write in the examination.
Ma'am, is there any free source?
Ma'am, two articles in research paper play an important role in paper 2, and what was your approach towards them?
Ma'am, is there any free source for previous?
Just wait. Raise your hands, and one by one start asking the question. If several people are asking at the same time, I'm unable to grasp the question.
Ma'am, what should
Ma'am, is there any free source?
हम कोई टेस्ट सीरीज ज्वाइन कर लें और हमारा अभी सिलेबस इतना कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन वो वीकली टारगेट्स देते हैं, तो उसे कंप्लीट करके हम ऐसे अपना सिलेबस भी और टेस्ट सीरीज भी कंप्लीट कर सकते हैं. इज इट पॉसिबल, या फिर पूरा बैठ के पूरा पहले सिलेबस कंप्लीट करें एंड देन वी कैन ज्वाइन टेस्ट सीरीज?
See, there's no fixed approach to preparation. आपको जो suit करता है, you can go with that. If you have done basic thoda sa reading and note making of the topics, then joining a test series with weekly targets is beneficial, because it keeps you on your toes. Secondly, if you are someone who has difficulty with discipline, you are unable to be strict with yourself, then these weekly target things are very good, because then you'll have to increase your efforts to complete the targets, and your preparation will get on track. So it is again your personal choice. There's no set formula of what to do and what not.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, is there any platform where we can evaluate our economics previous year question?
Ma'am, how?
Excuse me, just one person at a time, please.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, how to any free?
play an important role?
क्या आप
What
नाम
was
ले
your
लीजिए,
approach towards
वही
them?
क्वेश्चन पूछेगा. जो भी हैंड रेज कर रहा है उसका आप एक बार नाम ले लीजिए, लाइक राहुल.
नेहा. मैम, आपका ऑप्शनल इकोनॉमिक्स था. कैन यू प्लीज सजेस्ट समबडी और लेट मी कनेक्ट समबडी इन योर बैच हु हैड कॉमर्स ऑप्शनल?
See, I have actually been looking for commerce optional people. Several people have asked me on the channel, but I have not found anyone yet. When I go to the academy and I find someone, I will surely share the person's channels with you, so that you can help. You can get
Okay,
help.
ma'am. Thank you. Somebody else.
Ma'am, how to?
Ma'am, how to prepare for prelims and mains simultaneously?
So what you need to understand here is that the syllabus, especially the theory portion, are the same in prelims and mains. So when you strengthen your theory from the basic books and attempt PYQs, that helps you prepare the theoretical part for both. When it comes to practice, initially, like when prelims is away, do solve mock test, one mock test a day, like 100 questions. That is enough of whatever subject you're preparing. So in that way, you're practicing prelims, and then also solve 2 or 3 mains related questions to this, related to the same topic. So in that way, you are reading something and you are applying it both from the prelims point of view and the mains point of view. That way, you can prepare for both simultaneously.
Ma'am,
what
is
should
there any
ethics?
platform where we get the evaluation of economics previous year questions? Because ma'am, I have joined the Convert IAS, but there is no such any facilities for the optional.
Yes. For economics optional, so far I have not come across any platform that evaluates our answers. So that is a challenge.
Ma'am, ethics strategy.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Ruhani is
Yes.
asking question for 5 to 10 minutes. This is Ruhani.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Ethics strategy.
Okay,
He's asking
ethics strategy. So let me address the ethics strategy first, and then we move to the rest of the paper. So for ethics, my approach was to again follow the vision value added material. I had gone through lexicon initially, but did not find it useful related to the current pattern of the examination. So go through the vision value added material. I made notes out of it, and that was for the theoretical foundation. But when it comes to answering the question, merely theory is not enough. I refer to the toppers answer copies, especially Vishakha Yadav ma'am and Divya Mishra ma'am. They are very helpful. To an extent, even Sarthak Agarwal sir's copies are really good in ethics. So you can refer to any of these toppers copies. All of them have certain difference in their approaches. So look at their approaches, experiment them in the mock test, in the mock answers that you're writing, and get them evaluated. And whatever works for you, choose that approach for writing the answer. And then you have to quote a lot of examples. I made my own collection of examples and quotations that I have shared on my channel. You can go through that. And it is also advised to use a lot of diagrams. For the diagrams, I refer to Shubham Kumar sir's notes that he shared after he got through. So he has a lot of good diagrams that can be directly used as such in your answer copy. So that can also be referred to for ethics. When it comes to case studies, in case of the case studies, I was using a very to the point approach. Like exactly the questions asked, I was only answering those in the exam hall. I was not getting involved with the like mentioning the stakeholder diagram in every question or anything. If it is needed according to the demands of the question, then mention it. If it is not, then just move ahead. So a very to the point approach for case studies.
Ma'am, what do you suggest? Do we attempt the 10 markers first in ethics and then the case studies, or the then the 10 markers?
Some people, it's again up to you. You have to experiment a lot in the exam, in your mock test, so that whatever works for you, you can do. In my mock test, I attempted both approaches, but personally, I prefer attempting all the questions serial wise. So I attempted the 10 markers first, and then went to the case studies.
Hello,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
since
Can you tell me how to enrich our answers in both optional paper 1 and paper 2? Like how we can stand out apart from diagrams and the data example that you gave, that we can link the data with our answer and substantiate the data with our arguments. Apart from that, how we can enrich our answers?
I think we'll be addressing GS first. Optional, the rest of the optional related questions we'll address later. So any more questions from ethics?
Ma'am, I'm having a question on prelims aspect. Can I go for it?
Sure.
Ma'am, as we have seen in the past that toppers like Artika Shukla ma'am and others have actually recommended the fact that they had actually bought so many mock tests from different coaching institutions of Delhi, and they had attempted most of the questions serial wise. Even we had seen the same case with Riya Dabi ma'am. So ma'am, do you suggest like going for the multiple institutions test copies of GS prelims in order to safeguard our position in the GS prelims?
So I also did attempt questions from a variety of sources when it came to prelims mock. So you can do that. Why this is so? Because every coaching has a certain way of approaching the question making. So some coachings emphasize on some aspects and the others emphasize on other aspects. So if you have a good mix of questions from various sources, that certainly helps.
Okay, ma'am, and in addition to this, ma'am, like the CSAT has become very unpredictable today. So, ma'am, what should be the major sources for an aspirant who is actually targeting for 2023 examination, so that his concepts could be completely be strengthened from the grassroots level, so that he is ready for the 2023 prelims for the CSAT?
So when it comes to CSAT, it is divided into three major sections. There's maths, then reasoning, that is quantitative, then reasoning, and then comprehension. So when it comes to the quantitative things, if your fundamentals until 10th in maths are very strong, then you have a very good chance of being able to solve the questions. What matters now is your accuracy and the time that you take. So the time that you take can be reduced when you practice a lot of questions. Practice is of the key here. When it comes to reasoning, then again in reasoning you have to do this, that certain varieties of questions are asked. So go through any standard book of reasoning or watch any standard videos of reasoning of certain, like search for the specific question type and search for approach. And then the approaches are defined which help you reduce your time in solving the question. So you can refer to them. And again, when it comes to comprehension, I used one basic mantra, that is to not use your own brain. Use only what is given in the comprehension passage to answer the questions that are given at the end of the passage. So if you are able to do these things, your accuracy and speed would go up. And now coming to the part of being in the exam hall, what questions to attempt. Again, if you have attempted a lot of mocks, then you know what your strength area is and what your weak areas are. For me, in CSAT, the strengths were maths and reasoning portions. So I attempted these first, so that whatever is the amount of time needed for them, I just solved that. I attempted them, I again verified my answers and then marked in the OMR sheet. And then later on in the remaining time, I had around half an hour remaining. In that, I attempted the comprehension questions. Some other people attempt the comprehension questions first because their accuracy is higher in those, and then they move on to reasoning and maths. So it's again, you have to experiment during the mocks and see what approach suits you best.
Ma'am, the sources of sufficing this CSAT preparation has only been the YouTube videos that has been launched by other like test book or others who are into the banking examination preparation.
So I did not specifically prepare for CSAT during my UPSC preparation because like as a child I had always loved solving puzzles and I have a strong grasp over CSAT concept. So that is why I do not have exact, like I cannot name channels that are good for you. That is something you'll have to experiment and find out on yourself.
Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And ma'am, while lead up to the prelims, you were saying that last 70 days you were totally focusing on it, and you also were reading this PT 365, which usually comes 100 days. So how was your typical day, just like 60 days before the paper? How was it going? Like you were adding new material, giving exam, noting down the errors. How was it? Can you just substantiate?
I was still solving mock tests for prelims because I had not solved enough mocks in the previous phase of preparation. I was solving mocks and mainly focusing on analyzing my mistakes in those mocks. That helps more than just solving a lot of question papers. So solving and then like analyzing the mistakes, and then while preparing throughout the year, I had made like mark things as important for prelims perspective and kept them separate. So in the last 15 days, I was only going through the things that I've already marked as important for the prelims. And in this, apart from the mock test, I had also attempted last 26 years worth of prelims PYQs. And again, analyzing those, identifying the most frequently asked areas, making notes related to them, and revising my own notes. I was not extensively adding new material to my preparation, limited to the mainly the standard books, but PYQs is a source that you have to add in your preparation. So if you have missed out in earlier phases of the preparation, then 60 days before the prelims is a good time to start PYQ solving and complete it. And mock tests how many, like, only solve mock tests from various areas. Don't just solve only history mock tests, PYQ, history prelims mocks, but like solve few tests from all the areas. And towards the end, I was focusing more on full length tests, like that covered all the subjects in prelims. And analyze, make notes out of the mistakes that you're making. That is more important than just solving the questions.
So,
Ma'am,
how to analyze prelims?
related to
just before the
mains.
One by one, please.
365,
One by
ma'am,
one, please.
Regarding the time,
continuation with this question, just before the P365 was released, I mean, you were ready with some prelim material per monthly wise data, right?
No, I did not study the current, monthly compilation of current affairs. I was waiting for PT 365. I had been reading the daily 2-page news analysis of Vision. I did not make any notes for current affairs. So for revision, I was relying mainly on PT 365 for current affairs.
So with the mock PT 365, you were parallelly balancing those with
PT
previous year.
365, yes. Like you have to set timers for preparing that PT 365 portion, and then it goes fast. If you have been reading current affairs throughout the year on a daily basis, then PT 365 does not take that much time. But if PT 365 is the first time you are reading current affairs of the year, then it does take a lot of time.
Yes.
Ma'am,
as
my
you said,
question
like
is regarding
7 to
mains
8 months
approach
are not
for
broadly.
notes.
Yes, she's
Ma'am, how
asking.
to
So
analyze
basically,
prelims?
ma'am, whatever is asked in the test series now, which we have joined, and the material which is available on the internet, and even the value-added material, is all related to the current happenings which has happened already in the last years. So now, when we make notes, is it advisable that we should make notes which are all included in the syllabus list, or should we just read it and make notes which are happening in this current year and just make notes about it? Because we have observed that a lot of time the questions which are asked in mains are all related to happenings in the last 1.5 years. So what would you suggest? Should we make notes for every topic which is which is mentioned in the syllabus, or should we go for notes only for current happenings?
So again, I did not classify note making based on current affairs or the statistics. My approach was that if for a subject you are referring to a single source, then you do not have to make notes. You can directly revise from the source the things that you have highlighted or underlined. But if you are referring to multiple sources for a given subject, then you have to make your own notes. Or when the original source is very huge. For example, in my optional, the original sources are very bulky, so I made notes for them. So this is the thumb rule that I have been using. And when it comes to your just give me a second, like current affairs based notes from the tests and all that is available. So it will depend on, just give me a second. So it will depend, the current affairs based things, not, it will depend on the PYQs that you have seen. If you, like you have to use your own judgment and discretion about what is expected in the examination hall. Generally, things like the species that are endangered, that are in news in the recent years, they have a greater likelihood of being asked in the prelims. So you have to focus on that even while making notes. But there are some current affairs events that are not asked in, that are only asked in the mock test, but not in the actual paper. So you can skip making notes on that. You have to use your own discretion. There's no thumb rule regarding that.
So, ma'am, I was asking about mains. Like, if we take a section of elections in India right now, disqualifications of MLAs, president election is in news. So, if we go with the judgment that if we start preparing every topic related to elections for mains perspective, we might need a lot of time. But if we go with whatever happening in current time, then it will, I think, will limit the time that it will consume for that particular subject. So I
for
understood
this,
that. Yeah.
I understood your question. In mails, he likes to play with us. Sometimes we are expecting a question. then it might backfire in the exam hall. For mostly GS things, I prefer to like, putting in your 100% then first attempt, like a year of preparation at least before your first attempt is enough. I completed an year of preparation before my second attempt, and I found that was like enough to get through in that attempt. So I think an year of preparation is good, but if if you're balancing it with your studies or with your job or something, maybe more time is required. So again, it will depend on what like how intensively you prepare.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more small thing, like what would make the difference between say rank 350 and like somewhere in your range? Like it is almost the same level of preparation. What is the differentiating factor?
I think it depends a lot on your luck. Like it's hard to accept, but it is a lot of luck. We do not know where we would score well, where we would not score well, and what will work out on that day. For example, two questions that you know the answers to very well. If they are there, your marks can significantly improve. 5 to 10 marks can significantly improve your rank. So, from the aspect of preparation, I think having a clear grasp on the topics can help, but like it's not predictable. I cannot say with justification that I'm I did much better than someone who has just made it into the list or anything like that. That is very difficult to say for anyone. And again, there's this one quotation that helps motivate me, given the unpredictability of the exam, is that when you put in 100% of your efforts, then 1% of the luck will help you utilize the 100% of your efforts. But if you lack even by 1% in your efforts, then your luck will not favor you. So just focus on your efforts first. Don't think about the rank. Don't think about like whether you will get through and all. While you're preparing, just focus on your preparation.
Okay, ma'am, just one last thing. Like, if you don't mind, do you still feel that even you could have done something better? Like something
Yeah,
missed out?
sure. A lot of things. A lot of things. Like I was unable to complete the syllabus in a few papers that I could have done better. I could have practiced a little more of diagrams that would have been improved. And in essay, maybe a little more practice, a little less overconfidence. I was expecting much more in essay, but I could not. And so there are always several things for GS3 paper that is the paper in which I've scored the least marks. So for GS3, I could have done a little more. For economics optional, I could have revised a little more. And so there are always what if I could have done this or that. There is always scope for improvement.
Hello, ma'am.
Ma'am, do you think that exam city matters?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Ma'am, do you think
So
exam
how to
city
do revision?
matters?
Hello, ma'am.
Aarti is asking. Yes, Aarti.
Ma'am, do you think exam city matters? Like we give from which city or the marking scheme from different cities?
I would suggest you not to waste your time and energy thinking about things like this. Focus on your preparation. Center would matter to the extent, for example, our mains was in with the winter season. So if you had a home in the city and you were traveling to the exam center from home, obviously it would help because you have proper bedding to sleep without the cold. You have relatives to take care of you if you're feeling ill or something like that, and you'll have proper food, lunch, and everything. So that helps. But beyond that, I don't think there's a role of the city that you're playing. It's a little bit of luck about the invigilators. Maybe you can get some noisy invigilators, but in my both attempts so far, I have given 2 prelims and all the mains examination. The invigilators and UPSC exams are very cooperative. So there's nothing that matters. So invigilators cooperative in the sense they do not talk much during the exam. They let you focus on your paper. So that is all you need from the invigilators.
Ma'am, the way
Marking scheme, do not think about that. I'm telling you, marking is done in Delhi by proper evaluators that UPSC has chosen. Have faith on the commission. They are doing well.
Ma'am, the period between
afternoon,
the
ma'am.
mains
Good
and
afternoon, ma'am.
prelims and mains. Ma'am, the period
Just
between the
wait.
prelims, how will be a typical day in that? Like you have to give mocks also, you have to see the optional also. and then you have to evaluate also. So how was that particular period? Can you just elaborate, or how ideally it could be better the way you followed that?
So
Assuming
in
that the
that,
optional
yeah,
by
I
the
got your
time.
question. Let me answer first. Let me answer. So when it comes to the time between prelims and mains, one thumb rule is that start early. Have 1 or 2 days break after prelims and start preparing for mains. Don't go for checking your prelims attempts with the answer keys that are available in the market. They are generally wrong, and they do not give you a good indication of whether or not you will get through. So I did not do that. 2 days after the prelims exam, I started with mains preparation. So start there. Start with the areas that with the papers that have high chances of scoring well. For example, according to my strengths, I had identified essay paper, ethics paper, and optional paper 1 as the areas where I would score well. Only optional paper 1 I scored less than expected, but otherwise in ethics and essay I got decent score. Essay again I could have scored more, but then just leave it at that. So just identify the strong areas and start preparing about those early on, and don't count the number of hours. Incorporate little bit of exercises. So between prelims and mains, every morning I used to go for a 20 to 30-minute run, and I would wake up early. It was winter time. I'd study a little first, half an hour or 1 hour. Then I'd go for an half-hour run, come back, have your bath, have breakfast, get ready, and then start studying again. So this little bit of workout of half an hour increases your efficiency throughout the day. It your blood circulation starts up well, and you're able to focus more, and your attention improves. So that is something you must do. And dividing the power, the time between optional and GS papers. So my optional was remaining at that point, so I prioritized optional. In the first half, I do optional preparation until lunch, and I used to make targets according to what I need to do today. I'd finish that. I tried to finish talking about prelims, the time between prelims and mains. I did optional until lunch, and then I went to GS. And after dinner, I would still study for half an hour, for an hour or so, or at least 2. So in that time, I used to do the whatever copies I had sent for getting evaluated, the reviews I'd look at in that time, the revision things and all. Next question.
मैम आपने अभी आपने बताया था एथिक्स की टॉपर्स की कॉपीज के लिए
Means the time between prelims and mains, like most of the questions may come from that also, as I have observed. So that time, do you refer newspapers and all also for making?
You can ask your question in Hindi also.
Value-added materials between prelims and mains.
Yeah, so that was another thing that can be done, but I did not refer to newspapers because I did not have the time. My syllabus was incomplete in a lot of papers. What I did was to refer to mains 365 and PT 365 again selectively. So that helped me with the current affairs, the very specific, and then the questions, the areas that are very much in news. For example, the COP26. For them, various Telegram channels were posting summaries. So I referred to those summaries for preparing them rather than going through the entire newspaper articles.
Ma'am, what was your revision?
Also
crack the UPSC exam.
What is the approach for revision?
Revision strategy and how we can put things into long-term memory.
The revision strategy will again depend on your strength. Like for some people, it works better when they write and revise, but for others, it works better when they repeatedly read the subject. So it will depend on your strength areas. For getting things in the long-term memory, firstly, number of revisions have to be increased, and secondly, you have to practice questions from the area. Until you have written answers on your own based on your memory, the things do not go into your long-term memory. And again, revision is important. Even when you have attempted questions from an area, you have to go back and again look at the answers that you have written, think about what you could have improved. So the number of iterations that you can do for the subject matter as well as for the answers, as many iterations, the better the recollection.
मैम अभी आपने एथिक्स के लिए कुछ टॉपर्स बताए थे, लाइक विशाखा यादव और विजन का वैल्यू एडेड मटेरियल आपने जीएस 4 के लिए यूज किया था. कुछ और टॉपर्स का मटेरियल आपने बताया था, आई थिंक कोई अग्रवाल सर करके थे, क्या बता रहे थे आप उनका नाम?
दिव्या मिश्रा मैम और सार्थक अग्रवाल सर.
सार्थक अग्रवाल। ओके मैम, एक और चीज है मैम, एथिक्स में जिस तक पहले मेरे पास लुसेट लेक्सिकॉन थी आप ही के तरीके, बट मैम सच में है वो उतनी रेलेवेंट नहीं है। आपने क्या यूज किया था
वैल्यू एडेड
स्टैटिक वाले पोर्शन को कवर करने के लिए?
विजन के वैल्यू एडेड नोट्स।
विजन के वैल्यू एडेड नोट्स। और मैम एग्जांपल्स एंड वो चीज के लिए आपके पास कोई ऐसा कंपाइलेशन वगैरह टाइप में है क्या कि आपने नोट्स बनाए होंगे?
आप प्लीज थोड़ा ध्यान से सुनिए, मैंने बताया कि मैंने अपने कंपाइलेशन अपने टेलीग्राम चैनल पे डाल दिए हैं, आप देख सकते हैं।
हाँ ठीक है, ओके मैम। अच्छा मैम एक और चीज है मैम,
we will end the session within next 30 minutes, so you can ask within that duration.
Ma'am, can we use Vision IAS and Mrunal sir notes for mains previous year questions solution?
For mains previous year solutions, try not to look at the model answers because they are not replicable in the exam. But like try to approach on your own, and in the specific questions that you have a doubt in, not all, but selectively, you can refer to various sources. Look at how they are approaching the answers, and then prepare your own answers.
Ma'am, for GS geography, class 11, 12th NCERT is enough.
I prepare only from those sources, so I think it is enough.
Ma'am, do we need to read Lakshmikant spectrum cover to cover, or we can leave some topic which is not in syllabus?
So Lakshmikant, I did read initially cover to cover. In the revision phases, I focused on the areas that are more frequently asked. In spectrum, I skipped the post-independence India portion, that one chapter of post-independence, post-partition India, but rest of the things I did revise again and again. Especially after the like independence, there is a section where theme-wise they have divided the chapter: education, governance, administration, things like that. So those chapters are very important from the perspective of mains, as well as prelims, in fact. So do not skip those chapters.
Hello, ma'am. What sources did you use for art and culture for main especially?
For art and culture, I mainly refer to Nitin Singhania's book selectively again. Did not go through all the chapters, but selectively the chapters from which questions are frequently asked, I refer.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm dedicating my all preparation to mains right now for 2 months. So, ma'am, is it advisable to write FLTs every alternate day, or should I focus on content development? Ma'am, what should I do?
So, if you can manage the time, try to write at least 2 FLTs in a week. That will help. If you can manage more time, you can spend more time on writing, because until you write, you will not know what content you have developed so far, and do not like lose confidence if you do not feel that your answers are up to mark. If you start early, then you have longer time to improve your answers. So I'd recommend people to start writing answers as soon as possible.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, is it necessary for make notes for prelims only?
See, again, note making depends on you. I did not make a lot of notes for prelims. For prelims, my entire notes only comprised of the mistakes that I was making in mock test. And that too, I did not make handwritten notes. I used to highlight in the solutions and then screenshot them and add to my OneNote. So again, it depends on like what you feel is important for you, where is your weak area, and make notes so that you are able to revise in shorter duration.
Ma'am, for economics mains and prelims, optional is enough, or we should do extra effort for mains?
For economics, a little bit apart from optional is also required in GS3. For example, the theoretical things like definition of GDP and how it has changed in the recent years in India, things like that are not usually covered in the optional. So you have to cover the theoretical foundation for GS mains economics separately as well.
Ma'am, which technique you follow to maximize your study?
One by one, Rohit first.
Ma'am, which technique you follow to maximize your study? Like you said, you use OneNote to get multiple revision. Ma'am, is there any technique that you used? Because there are many aspirants who study same number of hours that topper study, but they don't get in the list. Ma'am, is there any specific reason?
one specific reason is the effectiveness of hours. Like when I've talked to the other toppers of the year, everyone says that they did not focus on counting the number of hours, but completing the targets that they have. While others, they count the number of hours. They say I have sat for 10 hours and like I'm preparing well. But like the number of hours don't matter as much as what you do in those hours. Focus on improving the efficiency of the time that you have put in. There are no special techniques or shortcuts of like improving your marks or improving your attention capacity. You have to sit and revise. That is what you can. Next question.
Governance के answers कैसे enrich करें?
Ma'am, what is
Governance
Ma'am, how
answers.
to overcome depression and demotivation
Wait.
in low times?
Wait, yeah. Like, let me answer the governance question first. So for governance, again, I refer to the vision value added notes. They are really good, and I prepared previous year question solutions using the material available in the value added notes, and then revised only my PYQ solutions for GS2 paper. And in GS2, it has a very high probability of questions being repeated again and again, especially in governance. And so that does help a lot. Now coming to the person discussing question about mental health. So if you have any serious mental health issues, I am not the person to consult an expert in the field. But for other issues, for like minor issues like lack of motivation and things, just reevaluate why you want to give the exam. If it is something you have chosen for yourself, then you, like, despite all the difficulties, you must persist, because this exam needs a lot of persistence and dedication. And like for motivation, again, just whatever motivates you. For me, thinking about like I enjoyed studying, so that was a part of motivation. And again, I used to say like I have chosen this for myself, so I knew the challenges that there will be, and whenever there were difficulties, that pushed me on, because I know that there will be difficulties, but I have chosen this. I want to be this officer. I want to change something from the ground level. So those are the things that motivate me. So for motivation, it is a very personalized thing. Whatever motivates you, try to do that again.
Hello, ma'am. How you prepared answers for PYQ?
Main preparation.
मैम पहले ऐसे की कॉल दी ऐसे के लिए कर दिया
what was the question? ऐसे
मैम ऐसे के लिए कैसे प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए?
ऐसे कैसे प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए?
Yes, ma'am.
So for essay, my strategy was to look at the toppers essays first, those who have scored well in the previous years. First, I went through some of their essays. Then I started writing my own essays. What you can do is that if you have a topper's essay on a certain topic, before reading what they have written, write your own essay, compare it with what they have written, and like have a sort of comparison of what you like in their essay, what you don't like in your, where you have a mistake or a lacuna, and then like do that accordingly. And afterwards, start writing own essays on different topics related to the current year or something like that, and get your essays evaluated, because for essay there is no substitute for external evaluation. It is important when it comes to essays.
Hello, ma'am. How you prepared your answers for PYQ?
For PYQs, I refer to the standard sources and Google wherever I was unable to know. Generally, I was able to find out the answers from the standard sources that I have referred to while preparing.
Ma'am, what was your source of geography? Class 11 or 12 and NCERT, it covers all the syllabus, or we should go for other books?
It does not cover all the entire syllabus, but like even 11, 12 is vast enough to prepare, and geography I only limited my preparation to that. The rest of the things I did based on some general knowledge about geography, and there were also themes that appear when you then when you attempt the PYQs or the prelims mock test. So whenever a new concept came, I used to look at an article or two related to the topic and gain an understanding, and based on that I attempted the question in mains as well.
What was your source for solutions of economics optional PYQs?
Source for what PYQs?
Economics optional.
So I prepared my own answers.
Did you refer any particular institute or some books for your
I did not
difficult
refer
question?
to I did not refer to any institute, as I mentioned earlier. I made my own notes, and those are made from the standard books for economics optional, which I have listed out on my channel as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question with respect to answer writing. Am I audible?
Could you be a little louder?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, my question is with respect to answer writing. Ma'am, note making part is one thing. I have completed with that part. So when writing answers, I tend to write answer either via pastel approach, or I try to recollect points from my notes, and I end up writing only 1 or 2 points out of 10 points which are there in notes. So how to ensure what we are preparing, we are writing in the test, because in a time bound manner, it is difficult to write what we have remembered. So how to ensure?
You are lacking on the revision front. Revise more, and then you'll be able to recollect more of the points that you have written in your notes. And again, in notes, identify some of the higher priority points. And while revising, focus on them more, because it is not possible to remember all 10 points from your notes into your answers, but the higher priority points, which has very good data, for example, or very good analysis that others might not be writing, or which you feel is essential to answering the question, focus on those areas and write those points first. And the rest of the points you can make on the way. And like when you prepare a lot, when you revise a lot and then write a lot of answers, the number of points that you can recollect also improves.
So, ma'am,
how do you maintain discipline and consistency?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Just let me finish with the first question before discipline question. Yeah. You were asking something, I think, Jaipal.
Yes, ma'am. I was asking with respect to last question only. You said we need to revise our notes properly, right? So, ma'am, the problem is in that time we don't recollect the exact thing what we have remembered. So I want to know how you used to revise, like how you used to ensure ki okay, these points are something I will like you are mugging up those points, or what's the case? Because understanding is one thing.
No. Again, see, it seems like mugging up, but it is not. When you look at anything again and again, I always revise with a pen in hand. So on my OneNote, I used to have a stylus in my hand, and I would highlight the points that I prefer writing. I would also write them roughly on the outside of the margins, and then erase them, because it's digital mode, so you can write and erase as many times. So I used to write them and again the pointers that I want to write, and then for me stories work a lot. So between the pointers, I would create some sort of story that I would remember as soon as the topic is being said. These things come when you have revised the content 4 or 5 times. So that is essential. You cannot have a shortcut for that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. It was helpful. Thank you.
Ma'am, did you join any mains test series, ma'am, and when did you join?
So for mains, I had enrolled in the vision test series, but I attempted only 4 tests because I did not like the evaluation provided at vision. Between prelims and mains, the corridor IAS corridor telegram channel had this corridor toppers program. So in that, I attempted a lot of mock tests. They provided evaluation, as well as I got my answers evaluated by Convert IAS. And apart from this, I attempted a lot of PYQs in that duration between prelims and mains, and the PYQs were very helpful. So these are the 3 things that I did related to attempting questions or test series related to mains.
Guys, we will end
how to analyze prelims previous year question, because there are many questions repeated in the prelim section. So how to analyze them?
So again, the themes that are asked again and again, focus on preparing them, having your concepts clear in those themes. That is most important.
Ma'am, I would like to ask for a non-economics grad, how much time it would take for a person to prepare economics option?
So again, it depends on how conversant you are with economics topics. Some people find it easy to understand. For them, 6 months 6 to 8 months would be enough, but for others it might take longer.
And also, did you prepare for Indian Economic Service as well?
No, I did not prepare for the economic services.
What will be the timeline of mains preparation?
Your question is not clear. We'll have one or two last few questions. So,
discipline and consistency. I will ask.
Okay, discipline and wait. Let me answer W's answer first. We did not address her before. So, when it comes to discipline and consistency, both, you have set a target for yourself. You have to motivate yourself regarding that to check that the number of hours I had been putting. Like, do not count the number of hours, but still to have some sort of accountability. I used a timer app called Engross. There are other forest timers and everything available, so you can use any of these focus timers. So I used to set a timer, and when the timer was on, I would not do anything apart from studying. Like, even if I am like taking up my phone, I'd only visit the websites related to the doubts, related to the topic that I'm studying, and nothing else. And I pause the timer every time I'm taking a break. So that would give me an idea of how long I'm studying and how long I'm just roaming around. So that improves your accountability to yourself. And consistency is, again, if I have suppose put in only 6 hours of study in a day, which is less than what I want from myself, then next 2 days I'll compensate for that. So that I'll create a balance that is even the number of hours that I'm putting should not go down, and then focus timers to have to improve your focus and improve like the efficiency of the time that you're putting in. One last question.
Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, if we stuck in the
I know you would be super busy after this, but as the priority changes, as we are into the preparation, I would request you to conduct such sessions like on monthly basis, maybe, or after 6 weeks, so that we could get our doubts clarified with the regular topper on a sync preparation course. That I would
I'll
like
try to do that, but I'm not sure how much.
And thanks.
I'm not sure how much time is available in the academy, but I'll try to do that.
Any
other questions?
You can join
For books did you make notes for optional? For what books did you make notes in optional?
Please watch the video that will be posted later on. I have addressed a lot of questions on optional.
Also, guys, the recorded video will be available to you so that you can revisit your doubts.
Ma'am, while reading Lakshmikant's spectrum, I find some topic very hard to understand. Ma'am, what to do with that topic, ma'am? Which teacher or topper notes I can follow to understand that hard portion of Lakshmikant and spectrum? Because I am beginner.
For Lakshmikant and spectrum, you have to revise and again. Only then the topics become clear. That is a common problem with everyone, and I did not find anyone else's notes to be as effective as the number of revisions. That is why I am telling you to revise it again and again. And whenever you have difficulty in a concept, go through Google, go through a site called Constituent Assembly Debates. That helps a lot in understanding the basics of polity.
Okay.
Ma'am, how many pages or chapter you read in one day?
Let's wrap this session up. You can ask further queries on my channel, and I'll be addressing those there. And we will also have sessions in the future, so we can talk later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving your valuable time.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Also, guys, I want to make an announcement. Like on 26th, we have another session with Shruti Goel, All India 78, and on 28th with the Shreya. So, in case you have any doubt, you can ask on that. So, Shreya, thank you so much for giving your valuable time. I am ending this session, and all the best to all of you for your upcoming exam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here, and all the very best
so
to all
much,
of you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Please take
ma'am.
more live session. Thank you, ma'am, very much.
Thank you, Shreya.
चलो
भाई जब भागोगे ना ऐसे दबा के और ऐसी डायरेक्शन में भागोगे जहां कोई नहीं भाग रहा और तुम जैसा भाग नहीं पा रहा क्योंकि देख के डर रहे हैं कि यार ऐसा भागूंगा तो गिर जाऊंगा, स्टेबिलिटी नहीं मिल रही, तब ऐसी सक्सेस मिलेगी जितना वो लोग पूरे लाइफ में नहीं, आपको पता चलेगा आप 3 साल में कमा लेंगे।